The first scream didn't sound human. It ripped through the marble hallways of the Blackwell estate like metal tearing apart, sharp enough to wake the birds nesting in the sycamores outside. I was halfway down the servants' corridor, holding a silver tray of linen napkins, when the sound hit me, high, raw, and terrified. For a split second, I thought one of the maids had slipped on the polished floor again. Or maybe Mrs. Hale, the head housekeeper, finally lost a battle with the chandelier dusting pole. But then I recognized the voice. It was his, Gabriel Blackwell, the billionaire who never raised his voice above a controlled murmur, the man who moved like a ghost through his own mansion, the man whose loneliness seeped through the walls long before he ever touched me. He was screaming. I froze so fast the tray tilted in my hands. Linen napkins slipped and scattered on the floor like fallen feathers. My heartbeat kicked into a violent thrum, my throat tightening around a sudden knot of dread. Something was wrong. Very wrong. His voice came again, lower this time, more guttural. No, no, no. Then a sound like something crashing. I ran. My shoes struck the marble in frantic staccato beats as I sprinted down the hallway toward the master wing. The early morning light spilled through the tall windows in fractured gold beams, catching dust particles that trembled in the air like suspended ash. Somewhere behind me, I heard Mrs. Hale shouting orders. Someone call security. Someone find out what happened. Someone stop me from running. But I didn't stop. I couldn't, because I already knew what room the scream had come from. His bedroom, the place where, for nearly 6 months, he had taken me into his loneliness night after night, where he kissed me like I was something he wasn't supposed to want but couldn't let go of, where he whispered things in the dark he never dared say in daylight, where this morning something had shattered so violently that his voice broke with it. When I reached the double doors of his suite, one of them hung half open. The brass handle bent downward like someone had yanked it with superhuman force. My breath hitched. I pushed it the rest of the way, my fingers trembling. Gabriel! I whispered. The air inside the room felt wrong, charged, humming, like after a storm. He was standing in the middle of the room, barefoot on the cold floor, wearing only his dark pajama pants. His chest rose and felt like he had run a marathon. His hair, usually perfectly combed, was wild, clinging to his forehead with sweat. And in his hand, my blood iced, he was holding a necklace, a delicate silver chain with a tiny heart pendant. Not mine. It lay broken in his palm, snapped cleanly in half, the chain ends curled like frayed nerves. I knew that necklace. Everyone in the mansion did. It belonged to his fiancée. Ilara, he whispered, not to me, but into the empty air, like he was calling out to a ghost. His voice trembled. She was here. A suffocating silence swallowed the room. My voice came out thin. What do you mean? Here? She isn't back until next month, she said. I know what she said. His jaw clenched. But she was here, this morning, in this room. His eyes darted around the floor, scanning for something only he could see. I smelled her perfume. I heard footsteps. He broke off, pressing a hand against his face. I took a step closer. Gabriel, you must have dreamed. I wasn't dreaming. The words came out ice-sharp, slicing through my reassurance like a blade. I flinched. His shoulders softened immediately, guilt washing over his expression. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. His breath caught. I know what I saw. My hands tightened around my apron. 1,000 conflicting thoughts crashed inside me. Worry, confusion, jealousy I knew I didn't have a right to feel. Fear of what this meant. For him. For us. For whatever we had been doing in the dark for half a year. He looked at the necklace again, his voice cracking. This was on her nightstand. She never goes anywhere without it. She said it was the only thing she kept from her mother. His throat bobbed. Why would she leave it here unless she came back for something? Something cold slid down my spine. Gabriel, I spoke carefully. Is it possible she came to take her things? He didn't answer at first. Then he lifted his eyes to mine, blue, distressed, almost fever-bright. She didn't come for her things, he whispered. She came for someone. A pulse of dread slammed into my chest. I swallowed. Someone. He didn't look away. She came for him. A chill swept across my skin. Who? Gabriel stared past me, like the shadow of a memory was taking shape behind my shoulder. Ilara was cheating on me. The air vanished from my lungs. My lips parted, but no sound came out. I found messages, he said, his voice hollow. A month before she left for Europe. Photos. Calls at 2 a.m. I confronted her. She cried. She denied everything. Then suddenly she needed a long trip to clear her mind. But she left her necklace behind. His fingers closed around a pendant like it was a live wire. I knew she wasn't done. I knew she'd come back to him. And this morning, she did. The mansion seemed to hold its breath. A sickening pit opened in my stomach. Not for her, not even for him, but for the truth buried under his words. He believed what he was saying, with absolute conviction. But something didn't fit. Something felt fabricated, warped, like a dream being forced into reality. And then, before I could ask another question, a soft sound drifted from the adjoining bathroom. A click, like someone gently shutting a door. Gabriel's head snapped toward it. My pulse spiked. Someone was inside. He moved before I could speak, a blur of panic and fury, rushing toward the bathroom door. He grabbed the handle. Locked. Ilara, he whispered, desperation twisting his features. Open the door. Silence. My breath stuttered. This couldn't be real. She was across the ocean. She had posted photos yesterday. Milan, a rooftop brunch, sunglasses, a smile that looked too bright. Unless those photos weren't from yesterday. Unless she had never really left. Unless... Gabriel slammed his fist against the bathroom door. I said open. Before he could finish, the lock clicked softly. The door creaked open a few inches. Not wide enough to see inside. Just wide enough for cold air to drift through. And then, a man's voice. Low. Rough. Just one word. Gabriel. Gabriel froze. My heart dropped so hard I felt it in my ankles. The voice was familiar. A voice I had heard laughing in the kitchen during staff dinners. A voice that had greeted me every morning with warmth. Marcus, Gabriel's younger brother. The traitor stepped out of the shadows. His shirt half-buttoned. His eyes swollen. His expression devastated. And in that single moment, I understood everything Gabriel hadn't seen. Ilara wasn't coming back for Gabriel. She had come back for Marcus. Gabriel's breath shattered. He stumbled backward like he'd been shot. I reached for him. He didn't feel my touch. He didn't feel anything. His world had just been ripped open, and the pieces were falling at our feet. Marcus didn't move at first. He stood framed in the bathroom doorway like a man caught between two flames, one burning behind him, one roaring in front of him. His chest rose and fell with a trembling rhythm, his jaw tight enough to crack. The early morning light from the penthouse window stretched across his face, revealing every contour of guilt he tried and failed to hide. Gabriel stared at him like he was looking at a stranger. No, worse, like he was looking at a ghost wearing his brother's skin. The air seemed to thicken between them, filled with every unsaid thing that squeezed the breath out of the room. Finally, Gabriel exhaled, just once, shaky and broken. Tell me, he said softly, too softly. Tell me she wasn't here for you. Marcus closed his eyes. A long, painful silence cracked open, spilling dread across the room in slow, icy drops. I'm sorry, Marcus whispered. The apology landed like a death sentence. Gabriel didn't explode. He didn't shout. He didn't even blink. Instead, his entire body went still. So still it frightened me. Sorry, Gabriel repeated, the word unsteady at the edges, like he wasn't sure how to pronounce it. You're sorry. Marcus swallowed hard. Gabe, listen. No. The quietness of Gabriel's voice was far deadlier than a scream. You don't get to call me that. Marcus flinched. I stepped forward cautiously, my hands shaking around my apron. Gabriel, maybe we should sit down. Don't. The word cut me clean. Not angry. Shattered. I retreated a step, my chest tightening. Marcus took a slow, careful breath and stepped out of the bathroom, closing the door behind him like sealing off a crime scene. His hair was damp, his shirt wrinkled, his knuckles bruised from God knew what. He wasn't the golden boy of the Blackwell family right now. He wasn't the charming one, the soft-spoken one, the one everyone adored. He was a betrayer, and he looked like he knew it. She came at sunrise, Marcus said softly. I told her not to come back here. I told her to stay away. Gabriel laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Oh, you told her. You told my fiancée to stay away. How noble. Marcus's face twisted. Gabe, you slept with her. It wasn't a question. Marcus didn't deny it. Gabriel's hands curled at his sides. His breathing turned jagged, like he was drowning in the air he'd breathed his whole life. When? He demanded. When did it start? Marcus swallowed. Months ago. The room tilted. Not just for Gabriel. I felt it too, like the world had slipped sideways. Months. Long before Laura left. Long before Gabriel started seeking comfort in me. Long before any of us knew the truth we were sleepwalking toward. Gabriel backed up until his shoulder hit the edge of the bookshelf. A hard knock of impact. He didn't seem to notice the pain. You were supposed to be my brother. My only family. I didn't mean for it to happen. But it happened. Gabriel snapped, the first crack of fire in his voice. You could have stopped it. Marcus looked away. So could she. Gabriel laughed bitterly. So this was her fault. Not just hers. The sentence dropped between them like a stone. Gabriel's expression twisted, a mix of disbelief and agony. My own fingers curled around my skirt so tightly my nails dug into my palms. I wanted to speak, to say something, anything to ease the pain consuming him. But this wasn't my place. This was a wound years deep, far older than me. Gabriel's jaw clenched. Did you love her? Marcus hesitated. Too long. Far too long. Gabriel's voice cracked. Answer me. Yes, Marcus whispered. Gabriel's face collapsed. A sound escaped him, small, raw, unguarded. I had never heard anything like it from him. It wasn't anger. It wasn't hatred. It was heartbreak. The man who had built empires, who had endured a childhood filled with silence and loneliness, who had taken every burden onto himself just to keep the family afloat. This man was breaking piece by piece. And Marcus saw it, and he couldn't bear to look. She needed something you couldn't give her, Marcus said quietly. The words were gasoline. Gabriel went very, very still. What did you just say? I didn't mean. No, Gabriel whispered, stepping forward. Say it again. Marcus swallowed hard. She needed companionship, closeness, someone who wasn't lost in side work all the time, someone who actually saw her. A tear fell from Gabriel's eye, silent and devastating. And she found that in you, he said, his voice hardly audible. In my brother. Marcus didn't respond. He didn't need to. Everything had already been said. The mansion felt suddenly too large, too cold, too full of ghosts. I took a slow step toward Gabriel. Gabriel, please, sit. Let's get you water. You're shaking. His breath trembled, but he didn't step away when I touched his arm. Marcus noticed the gesture. His eyes flicked to my hand, then to Gabriel's face. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition, realization, and then horror. You and... Marcus blinked. Gabriel, tell me you're not. Tell me she's not. Gabriel jerked his arm out of my grasp, a spark of fury igniting. Don't you dare look at her. Marcus stared at me, betrayal blooming in his eyes now. You've been with him. It wasn't a question. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. Gabriel stepped in front of me protectively. Don't speak to her. Marcus shook his head slowly, voice cracking. You couldn't give Laura what she needed, but you could give it to her? The maid? The girl who looks at you like you're something she's not allowed to touch. Gabriel's voice was a low growl. Marcus. How long? Marcus demanded. How long have you been sleeping with her? Gabriel's fists clenched. I felt the world closing in. Marcus looked at me, really looked at me, and something in his expression shifted from horror to understanding to pity. You're both a mess, he whispered. Gabriel snapped. He lunged. Marcus shoved him back. The two brothers collided. Years of love, resentment, loyalty, and betrayal erupting in one violent, explosive moment. "Stop!" I cried, rushing forward, but Gabriel pushed me behind him to shield me again before he swung at Marcus. They crashed into the dresser, knocking a crystal decanter to the floor. It shattered in a spray of glass and whiskey. The smell filled the room with sharp, stinging heat. Marcus grabbed Gabriel's wrists. "You're angry at the wrong person. You stole my life." Gabriel roared. "My future. My—" He didn't finish. The words died in his throat, replaced by a choked sound of pain. Marcus let him go. Gabriel staggered backward, hands shaking violently. His chest heaved. His eyes were glossy with grief so heavy I could feel it in my bones. He didn't look at Marcus. He didn't look at me. He looked at the broken necklace still clutched in his fist, and whispered, "I don't even know who I'm anymore." My heart cracked. Marcus whispered, "Gabe, please." Gabriel didn't answer. Instead, he walked out of the room without another word, leaving me and Marcus standing in the ruins of everything that had been broken long before. For a moment after Gabriel left the room, neither Marcus nor I moved. The silence he left behind wasn't empty. It felt alive, vibrating with everything unsaid and everything already destroyed. The broken decanter leaked whiskey across the marble floor, the sharp scent burning my nose. Morning sunlight spilled across the chaos like a cruel spotlight, illuminating the shattered pieces of not just glass, but trust. Family. Love. Marcus finally exhaled, a slow, trembling breath that sounded like defeat. "It's not okay," he whispered. I swallowed hard. "Of course it's not okay." He lifted his head to look at me. His eyes, usually soft, warm, almost annoyingly gentle, were bloodshot, swollen, bruised by guilt. "He shouldn't be alone right now," Marcus said, raking a hand through his hair. "No," I agreed quietly. "He shouldn't." Marcus's gaze lingered on me a second longer than I wanted. It wasn't lust. It wasn't curiosity. It was something colder, deeper, recognition of the mess tangled between all three of us. "So it's true," he said. "You're with him." My chest tightened, not with shame, with something harder. "It wasn't supposed to happen," I said softly. "But it did. And whatever it is, it's not what you think." Marcus let out a bitter laugh. "Does he love you?" The question threw me like a slap. "I don't know," I whispered. "He never said. We never defined anything." Marcus stared. "And you agreed to that?" A prick of heat crawled up my neck. I didn't agree to anything. We just fell into each other. It wasn't planned. "It never is," he muttered. I turned away from him, my eyes drifting to the necklace pieces on the carpet, small shard of a life that had imploded in the span of one morning. "Marcus," I said quietly, "why didn't you tell him sooner?" He sucked in a shaking breath. "Because I didn't want to hurt him." "You hurt him anyway." "I know." His voice cracked. I faced him fully this time. "He trusted you." "I trusted him," Marcus replied, voice breaking. "I trusted him to hold on to her, to fight for her, to see her." My brows pulled together. "What does that mean?" Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but his eyes glossed over, not in anger, but in sorrow so deep it frightened me. "You wouldn't understand." "Then help me understand." He stared at the window for a long moment, like the dawn light could give him strength. "Elora and I didn't mean to," he began, forcing the words out, "but I fell for her. Not because she was Gabe's fiancée, because she was her. Broken, lost, angry, lonely. Hell, she was everything he pretended not to be." "She didn't look lonely," I muttered under my breath. "Oh, she was." Marcus gave a humorless laugh. "She cried in my arms more times than I can count." I stiffened. "Why?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Because Gabe didn't love her." My stomach dropped. "That's not true." "I lived with him," Marcus said. "I saw it. The dinners where he was too busy answering emails to look at her. The parties where she stood alone because he was wrapped up in some business call. The night she came home from charity events, and he didn't even ask how they went. Their engagement wasn't love. It was strategy." I shook my head. You're twisting it. Am I? His voice grew harsher. Or was he already pulling away long before I stepped in? Gabriel loved her. I insisted. He told me things about her, things he never shared with anyone. You weren't there when he planned surprises for her birthday, or when he arranged a secret Europe trip she rejected because she said she needed space. You don't know everything. Marcus shut his eyes, pain contorting his face. Maybe I don't, but I know what I saw. And I know what I heard. I whispered, "He's broken, and you're the one who broke him." Marcus winced like I'd stabbed him. You think I don't know that? You think I sleep at night? You think I didn't try to end it with her? I told her we had to stop 3 times. She kept coming back. I stepped closer, my voice trembling with restrained fury. And you kept letting her. Marcus didn't argue. He didn't deny it. He simply crumpled a little, like the weight of his choices had finally become unbearable. I loved her, he whispered. For the first time in my life, I loved someone. I didn't want to steal her. I just wanted to keep something for myself. Just once. His confession punched the air out of me, not because it excused anything, but because it was honest, painfully honest, and agonizingly human. He looked up at me, voice cracking. Do you know what it's like? Being the younger brother to the great Gabriel Blackwell, the man who never loses, the man everyone loves because he's brilliant, composed, powerful, while I'm the screw-up, the shadow, the extra. My heart softened, only slightly. But then I remembered Gabriel's face, wild with grief, collapsing under betrayal, and the softness hardened again. You didn't have to take the one person he loved, I said quietly. You could have taken anything else. Marcus exhaled shakily. I didn't choose her. I just couldn't let go. Silence stretched, painful, heavy. Then I turned toward the door. I need to find him. Marcus nodded, his voice faint. He's probably on the balcony. The east wing. He goes there when he can't breathe. I paused, hand on the doorknob. Marcus. He lifted his eyes. There's something you should understand, I said softly. Gabriel isn't just hurt. He's unraveling. And whatever happens next, you might lose more than her. Marcus's eyes dimmed. I already have. I didn't answer. I left him standing in the ruins of the room. The broken glass, the spilled whiskey, the shattered necklace, the weight of his own regrets. The hallway outside felt colder than usual. The mansion, with its towering ceilings and ornate architecture, suddenly seemed too big to hold the amount of heartbreak it now contained. I followed the path toward the east wing, passing walls lined with portraits of the Blackwell family across generations, men and women painted in regal tones, eyes watching, judging, mourning the cracks in the lineage unfolding beneath them. As I walked, my chest tightened, not just with fear for Gabriel, but with fear of what finding him would mean for us. Because the truth I had been avoiding since dawn was finally forcing itself into the light. I cared about him, more than I should, more than a maid should care about her employer, more than a woman should care about a man who was still bleeding from someone else's betrayal. And if he turned to me now, not for comfort, not for warmth, not for the nights we spent tangled in loneliness, but for something deeper, would I survive it? I didn't know, but I kept walking, toward him, toward the next fracture, toward whatever part of his soul was breaking open on that balcony. The east wing corridor felt colder than the rest of the mansion, like grief had seeped into the walls and frozen there. My footsteps were soft against the carpet runner, absorbed by the silence pressing down like heavy snow. Tall windows framed the rising sun, washing everything in pale gold. But the light felt wrong. Too soft for a morning this violent. Too gentle for a world that had just cracked open. When I reached the end of the hallway, the glass doors leading to the balcony were already ajar, letting in a thin draught of winter air. The curtains fluttered like ghostly hands trying to warm me away. But I stepped outside anyway. The early morning wind slapped my cheeks, sharp and bracing. Far below, the Blackwell Estate's garden stretched in manicured symmetry, the hedges, fountains, marble statues all glowing in dawn's bleak shimmer. But I barely saw any of it. Because Gabriel was there. He stood with his back to me, hands gripping the balcony rail so tightly his knuckles had gone bloodless white. His shoulders trembled, not visibly, but just enough that I could feel a tremor from where I stood. His pajama shirt clung to him in the wind, his hair whipping wildly. He looked like a man on the edge of something. Rage, grief, madness. I couldn't tell. Or maybe the edge was literal. "Gabriel!" I whispered. He didn't tone, didn't move, only tightened his grip on the railing. I stepped closer, cautiously. The cold bit into my skin, but something else, a deeper, more primal fear, bit harder. "I'm here," I said softly. Still no reaction. I reached out, gently touching his arm. He jolted like my touch burned him. For the first time since I'd met him, Gabriel Blackwell looked small. Not physically. He was tall, imposing even now, but small inside, like everything that made him powerful had drained out in one brutal blow. His voice, when it finally came, was raw. "Tell me something." My heart pounded. "Anything. Is there something wrong with me?" The question hit me like a punch. I swallowed. "What?" "Gabriel, no." "Then why does everyone leave?" His voice cracked mid-sentence. "My father left. My mother left long before she died. Ilara, she didn't just leave me. She ran to him, to my brother." His breath trembled, turning white in the dawn air. "What did I do?" he whispered. "What am I missing? Tell me, please." I felt my throat close. He wasn't asking out of anger. He wasn't demanding an explanation. He was pleading. A man who never begged for anything, begging now for a truth he feared would destroy him. I stepped beside him, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his shaking body. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said softly. "Ilara's choices were hers. Marcus's choices were his. You didn't push them together." His jaw tightened. "Didn't I? I ignored her. I prioritized everything else over her. Work, deals, expansion plans. I told myself she understood, that she'd wait. But she didn't wait, did she?" I shook my head. "You can't blame yourself for someone else's betrayal." His laughter came out cold. "Can't I? There must be a reason people keep choosing someone else." I hesitated, because he wasn't entirely wrong. But he wasn't right either. He dragged a shaky hand through his hair, lips trembling. "Marcus said she needed closeness. Connection. Someone who saw her. Is that true? Am I so blind that I can't love someone properly?" The pain in his voice shredded me. "You loved her," I said firmly. "Anyone else could see that. She just didn't see it the way you needed her to." Gabriel looked up finally, eyes glassy with unshed tears. "Then why did she choose him?" I took a trembling breath. And because he deserved honesty, not lies, not comfort dressed as truths, I answered carefully. "Because she was afraid." His brow furrowed. "Afraid of what?" "Of how much she wanted your attention," I said softly, "and how deeply she needed something you weren't giving, not because you didn't care, but because you thought showing vulnerability was weakness." Gabriel's face twisted. I continued gently. "Ilara didn't want another version of you. She wanted the pieces you keep locked away." Silence. Cold. Heavy. Devastating. "Marcus is softer," I added. "He makes people feel safe. Wanted. Seen." She clung to that because she didn't know how to reach you. Gabriel's throat bobbed. "She could have told me." "She did," I whispered, "more than once." His eyes widened with pain. "You just didn't hear her." His grip on the railing loosened. His head dropped. A single tear slid down his cheek. I stepped closer, placing my hand gently over his. "Gabriel, you're not broken. You're just human. And humans make mistakes." He shook his head. "I made the biggest mistake with the people I love most." I felt that sentence more deeply than I expected. He wasn't talking about Ilara anymore. Slowly, he turned to face me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The wind rushed between us, carrying the rawness of everything we'd both been avoiding. His eyes searched mine, not desperate, not pleading, but looking for something real, something solid, something that wouldn't betray him. And I realized, with a painful jolt, that he wasn't asking just for comfort. He was asking if I was going to leave him too. Why did you come? He asked suddenly. Why didn't you stay away like the others? My breath caught. Because you needed someone. He stared at me, long searching, consuming. What do you want from me? He asked quietly. The wind stilled. My heart hammered. I opened my mouth, unsure what would come out. I didn't know if I could tell him the truth. Didn't know if I was allowed to want him, emotionally, when my place in his life had been defined by shadows and stolen nights. But I didn't get the chance to speak, because footsteps echoed behind us. Fast, urgent, heavy. Gabriel stiffened. I turned. Marcus. He rushed onto the balcony, eyes wide, face pale, breath ragged. Gabe, wait! Don't do anything stupid. Gabriel's expression froze. Marcus looked from him to the edge of the balcony, then back to him again, misunderstanding the scene entirely. Gabe, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. Stop. Gabriel's voice was ice. Just stop. Marcus kept going. Don't punish yourself for what I did. I'll fix it. I'll tell her it's over. I'll leave. I'll disappear if I have to. Gabriel's face hardened. One devastating, final shift. You already disappeared, he said quietly. The moment you touched her. Marcus's shoulders collapsed. Gabe. No, Gabriel whispered, stepping away from the railing. No more. His voice wasn't loud, but it was final, cold, resolved. He walked past Marcus without looking at him, and without looking back at me, which somehow hurt worse. Marcus watched him go, chest heaving. Then he turned to me. What did you tell him? He demanded. I met his gaze, my voice low. The truth. Marcus's jaw clenched. And what truth is that? That you didn't just betray him, I said. You broke him. Marcus swallowed, eyes darkening with something I couldn't name, anger, guilt, desperation. He needs you now, Marcus whispered. He'll listen to you. He won't listen to me. I shook my head. He doesn't need me. Yes, Marcus said quietly, painfully. He needs you more than he realizes. I froze. He held my gaze. But you, Marcus added, stepping closer, need to figure out what you want from him, before you hurt him too. His words hit harder than I expected, because for the first time since all this started, I wasn't sure what my heart was doing anymore. The silence after Vivian left didn't feel peaceful. It felt loaded, heavy, a silence with teeth, a silence that could bite. I stayed in the hallway for a long moment, my shoulder pressed against the wall, as if the house itself had tilted and I needed support to stay upright. My heart wasn't racing. Not yet. Instead, it beat slow and deep, like it was waiting, listening, bracing. Something had shifted. Something essential. I walked back into the living room, and Elena was still there, standing awkwardly near the arm of the couch, hands clenched in front of her like she'd been caught doing something wrong. She wasn't looking at the door Vivian had just exited through. She was looking at me as if studying the damage, as if she already knew there was some. You okay? Elena asked softly. It was such a simple question. Too simple for everything that was twisting inside me. I'm fine. I lied. You don't look fine. I looked at her. Really looked. Her hair was tied back in a loose braid, but strands had fallen around her face. Her white shirt was dusted from the fabric samples she'd been folding earlier. Her eyes, big, deep, and impossibly sad, held a panic she was trying to swallow. Elena, I said slowly, do you know something I don't? Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. I don't know if it's my place, she whispered. A cold, sharp tension gripped the room. Tell me anyway. She closed her eyes, breathing in through her nose, like she was about to jump into icy water. I think your sister's angry at you, she said. That's not news. My voice was harder than I intended. Why? Elena hesitated. Why did she hesitate? Elena, I said again, more firmly. She said, she thinks you're being unfair. About us. Us. My stomach clenched. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air tighter. What do you mean, us? She thinks I'm overstepping, Elena whispered. But you're not, I said immediately, too fast, too defensive, and we both heard it. Her eyes lifted to mine, frightened again. She told me to remember my place. My jaw tightened. She shouldn't have said that. But she's right, Elena said quietly. In this house, I'm just. Don't say it. A maid. The word landed like a stone dropping into water. I stepped closer. Elena, you're not. But she stepped back, like I'd scared her, like I was a problem. We should talk, I said. Her voice trembled. About what? You know what. I really don't. She did. She absolutely did. Elena, I said, moving forward again, softer this time, slower, like approaching something wounded. Something's changed between us. That's not true. It is. You know it. Her breath shook. My hands curled at my sides to keep myself from reaching for her, touching her when I wasn't sure yet what such a touch would mean. Elena, I said, look at me. She didn't. Elena. Slowly, like it physically hurt, she lifted her gaze, and I saw it, the thing she'd been hiding. Fear, not of me, of herself, of what she was feeling, of what I might be feeling. I can't, she whispered. Can't what? Do this. Do what? Pretend you don't know what's happening. My chest tightened painfully. So something is happening, I said. Her eyes watered, and she shook her head fiercely. No, it's not. It can't. It shouldn't. But you feel it. She pressed her hand to her mouth, eyes shining, breathing fast. The truth was there. A fire she didn't want. A fire she didn't choose, but one that had been building between us for weeks. In the way she'd look away too fast. In the way she never let our hands touch longer than necessary. In the way she always left the room a second too quickly. Avoidance. Restraint. And now, fear. Elena, I whispered, you can tell me. Her voice cracked. It doesn't matter what I feel, she said. You're my employer. That's not all I am. But it's a part that matters, she said, stepping away again, shaking her head like she needed to shake the thought loose. Vivian is right. There shouldn't be an us. You're a billionaire. I clean your floors. I exhaled sharply. I don't care about that. You should, she cried. Her voice echoed. For the first time, Elena raised her voice in this house. And something in me broke. Elena, I began. A soft vibration cut me off. A sound from the kitchen counter. My phone. A message. Elena flinched like the sound burned her, and she took another step back. Don't, she whispered. Don't pick it up. Why not? Because if it's her again. Huh? Vivian. She already left. That doesn't mean she's done, Elena whispered, eyes wide with something like dread. But I walked to the counter anyway. I didn't want to, but I did, because something in Elena's trembling voice had set off alarms inside me. The screen lit up. One message. From an unknown number. Not Vivian. Not a family contact. Not anyone I recognized. Just a number. And a single sentence. A sentence that made my blood run cold. Do you know what your maid does at night? My skin prickled. My fingers froze. I stared at the words, not blinking, as though the letters might rearrange into something harmless if I waited long enough. They did not. Behind me, Elena whispered, No, please, not again. Not again? The word sliced through me. I turned sharply. Elena, what does this mean? She shook her head, covering her face. Elena. She didn't answer. Elena. My voice rose without permission. Look at me. She did. Slowly, tears streamed down her cheeks. And her expression destroyed me. It wasn't guilt. It was terror. Please, she whispered, voice strangled. Please don't read any more messages. But there were no more messages. Just one. A question. A threat. A warning. Oh, a truth. Elena. I said, each word cold and tight. What are they talking about? Her body trembled. Her lips parted. But before she could answer, My phone buzzed again. Another message from the same number. I didn't touch the phone yet. I just stared as a notification appeared on the lock screen. This one was worse. Far worse. Check the guest room hallway camera. Last night, 2:13 a.m. Every muscle in my body tensed. Elena gasped, stumbling back like she'd been slapped. "No," she whispered, choking on the word. "No, no, no. Please, please don't." I slowly raised my eyes from the screen and looked at her. She was shaking violently now, hands covering her mouth. "Elena," I said low, sharp, and terrified of the answer. Why would someone tell me to check the cameras? Her knees buckled. She caught the back of the couch to keep herself from collapsing, tears falling faster now. "Because," she whispered through broken breaths, "people always try to ruin me. I told myself this time would be different. I told myself I could start over, that I could be someone new here, someone safe." "Elena, what happened last night?" Her eyes squeezed shut. Her voice shook like glass about to shatter. "Something I've been trying to hide from everyone," she whispered, "even from myself." I stepped closer, the phone still buzzing in my palm as yet another message came through. But I didn't look at it. I looked only at her. "Elena," I said softly but firmly, "tell me the truth." Her eyes opened, filled with devastation, filled with something else, too, a secret I wasn't ready for. She took a shaky breath. "Michael," she whispered, "someone was here last night." My heart stopped. My pulse froze. The room went silent again. Except this time, the silence wasn't waiting. It was collapsing, like the calm before a devastating storm. "Elena," I whispered, voice raw. "Who?" Her lips trembled. She opened her mouth to answer, but the phone in my hand buzzed one last time. A photo appeared, a grainy still image from my own security camera, timed at 2:13 a.m. In the picture, the hallway outside the guest rooms. Dim light, a figure, a silhouette, a man, standing inches outside Elena's bedroom door. And just as my breath hitched, Elena whispered the name, a name that changed everything, a name that made betrayal feel suddenly, terrifyingly real. It was my husband. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe, not from anger, not from shock, but from the eerie, gut-deep knowledge that everything, I thought I understood about Elena, this house, and the strange tension in the walls was about to change. "Elena," the name scraped out of me. Your husband." My voice sounded wrong in the room. Thinner, sharper, like it didn't belong to me. Her legs folded beneath her, and she sank onto the couch as if gravity had doubled itself. She pulled her knees to her chest, burying her face in her arms, trembling so hard the cushion shook. I didn't move. I couldn't. The photo on my phone was still open, a grainy silhouette outside Elena's door at 2:13 a.m. A man, tall, still, waiting, not moving toward the door, not knocking, just watching it. "Elena," I said again, no louder, just closer. "Tell me what's going on." She lifted her head slowly. Her face was wet and blotchy, eyes swollen, but beneath all that, something else lived in her expression. Shame, fear, and something darker. "He shouldn't have found me," she whispered. "I left. I disappeared. I changed everything. My job, my number, my name." Her voice cracked. "But he always finds me eventually." "Name?" My pulse stuttered. "What do you mean your name?" She flinched. "Elena isn't my real name," she whispered. "Not legally." The room tilted. A betrayal of identity layered beneath a betrayal of trust. Not romantic betrayal. Not yet, but something deeper. "Then what is it?" I asked. She shook her head. "I don't want to go back to it. I don't want to hear it anymore. Not from anyone. Not even you." "Elena, you have to tell." "I can't," she cried, standing abruptly. "If I say it out loud, it feels like he wins. Like he still owns me." Owns. The word lodged in my chest like a blade. "Elena," I said carefully, "are you telling me your husband hurt you?" Her silence was the answer. Her breath shuddered. Her hands twisted together. Her gaze dropped to the carpet like she was ashamed of how it remembered. Finally, yes, she whispered, in every way he could. My chest tightened painfully. Not jealousy, not disappointment. Something far more primal. Did he hurt you last night? No, she said immediately. No, I locked the door before he reached it. I heard him breathing in the hallway, pacing, but he didn't get inside. He left after a few minutes. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded, but the anger wasn't at her. It was at the idea of someone stalking these halls at night, watching her door, watching her. She squeezed her eyes shut, because, she whispered, people like him always twist the truth. Always. Eventually, when they show up, everyone around me starts believing them. I get fired. I get blamed. I get chased out. It's always the same. My fists clench. What does he want? Me back, she said. He wants control. He wants to punish me for leaving, for having a life without him. Her breath quivered, for breathing without him. I sat beside her, not touching, but close enough that she could lean if she wanted to. She didn't. That killed something inside me. Elena, I said slowly, if it's dangerous, we need to call. No, the word was sharp, instant. No police, she said, shaking her head violently. He knows people. He works with people. People who erase problems. If the police get involved, they'll make this disappear before sunrise. And then he'll come after me harder. He'll come after you. A chill ran down my spine. He knows who I am. She hesitated, then nodded. He's been watching your house for weeks. Blood drained from my face. And you didn't tell me. I tried. Her voice cracked. You didn't want me talking about what happens in this place at night. You said it made you uncomfortable. I froze. I had said that, not because I suspected anything, but because I hated hearing that she felt unsafe. I never imagined this. Elena, I said, throat tight. I didn't mean to shut you out. You didn't know, she whispered, hugging herself again. Why does he care about me? I asked softly. She didn't answer at first. She looked toward the window, toward the dark, windy sweep of the driveway outside. Her silence stretched, weighted, and trembling. Then finally, her voice broke. Because he thinks I'm sleeping with you. The words hit me like a punch to the ribs. Everything inside me went painfully still. Are you? I asked quietly. It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't even hope. It was raw confusion. Something confused and afraid to breathe. Elena looked horrified. No, she gasped. Michael, no. I would never. You've been nothing but kind to me. Too kind. I don't want to ruin that. I swallowed hard, the knot in my chest tightening. Then why would he think? Because he thinks every man wants me, she whispered bitterly. He always did. He used that to keep me trapped. Anyone who looked at me for too long, he punished. When I worked at a restaurant, he accused me of sleeping with the customers. When I worked in an office, he accused me of sleeping with my boss. Her voice lowered. When I became a maid here, he decided I must be sleeping with you. I exhaled slowly. Elena, I said, I've never touched you. I know, she whispered, but he doesn't believe that. And now... Her voice broke, a fresh wave of tears spilling down her cheeks. Now he's inside your security system. He's watching us, listening, studying everything. My stomach dropped. You think he hacked the cameras? It's what he does, she said, wiping her face. He's not just dangerous, Michael. He's clever. He learns your habits, your routines, your weak spots. A shiver crawled through me. He sent those messages to provoke you, she continued, to make you doubt me, to make you question everything. Once he wedges himself between us, even professionally, he'll start destroying whatever peace I built here. And last night, I asked quietly, what did he want? She looked at me with haunted eyes. To remind me, she whispered, that I can never escape him. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Seconds passed. Maybe minutes. Finally, I stood. Elena, I said, "You can't stay in that room tonight. Not after." No, she shook her head. "I'll be fine." I locked the door. "That's not enough." "It has to be," she whispered, "because the last thing I want is to put you in danger." "You already did," I said. The word slipped out sharper than I meant. Elena flinched like I'd slapped her, and instantly I regretted it. "Elena," I said quickly, kneeling in front of her so she couldn't look away, "I didn't mean it like that." "But it's true," she whispered. "He'll hurt you to hurt me. That's what he does." I cupped her hands gently, careful not to overstep, but needing her to feel something steady, something real. "You're not the danger here," I said softly. "He is." Her lips pressed together, trembling. She stared at me for a long moment, as if memorizing my face, like she expected it to be gone tomorrow, like she expected herself to be gone. Then, "Michael," she whispered so quietly I almost didn't hear, what if he wasn't alone last night?" A chill went through me. "What are you saying?" Her eyes went wide with fresh fear. "He hates me for leaving," she said. "But he hates you for giving me a life without him. And he hates anyone who tries to help me." "Elena, tell me." She swallowed hard. "Last night, I heard 2 sets of footsteps. The room iced over. 2. 2 people. Not one. Not just her husband. Someone else. Someone who knew how to move quietly. Someone who knew how to avoid cameras. Someone who knew the layout of my home." "Elena," I whispered, "who would be helping him?" Her voice shook. "I don't know." Then she froze. Her eyes widened. Slowly, terrifyingly slowly, she turned toward the front door. "Unless," she breathed, "unless he convinced someone from inside your circle." My pulse hammered. "Inside my circle?" "Yes," she whispered. "Someone with access. Someone who knows your routines. Someone who knows this house." Her face drained of color. "Michael, think. Who was here last night? Who knew I was alone? Who had a reason to?" Her voice stopped, cut off suddenly, because we both thought of the same person at the exact same moment. Vivian, my sister. The world tilted violently, and the betrayal that had been hovering in the shadows finally stepped into the light. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The name Vivian hung between us like a loose electrical wire, sparking, dangerous, too close to something explosive. Elena didn't even breathe. She just stared at me, wide-eyed and pale, as if she'd accidentally spoken a curse into existence. I forced myself to swallow. Why? Why would my sister be involved? Elena wrapped her arms around herself as if cold. "I'm not saying she is. I'm saying last night she was here. She was angry. She said things meant to hurt. And she knows your habits, your house, your staff. She knows me." My stomach turned. "She doesn't like you," I said quietly. "She resents me," Elena corrected softly. "There's a difference." I knew she was right. For months, Vivian had been circling Elena with a strange, territorial energy, half suspicion, half hostility, half something more complicated. She didn't trust Elena. She didn't trust anyone around me. But to help Elena's husband? No, that couldn't be. Vivian could be harsh, yes. Manipulative, yes. Bitter, yes. But dangerous? Complicit? Still, the truth wormed through my chest. Vivian showed up last night. Vivian was furious. Vivian left without saying where she was going. Vivian had a key. "Elena," I said slowly, "why would my sister talk to your husband? Why would she even know him?" Elena hesitated, and fear flickered through her expression again. "Because," she whispered, "he finds people. He charms people. He manipulates them. He can make anyone believe he's a victim." Her breath caught. "And the moment he thinks someone has influence over me..." She closed her eyes. "He uses them." I sat back, stunned. "Elena," I said, "my sister isn't stupid. She wouldn't believe him." "She believes whatever makes her feel powerful," Elena answered quietly. "Whatever makes her feel needed. Your world is complicated, Michael. Wealth attracts desperation, control, jealousy." She swallowed. "And loneliness." A sharp ache stabbed my chest. Are you saying Vivian is lonely? No, Elena whispered. I'm saying she thinks you are. The room fell silent. Elena continued, her voice shaking slightly. Your sister thinks she protects you, that she's the only one who understands you. When she looks at me, she sees a threat to that. She sees someone taking her place, someone replacing her. I closed my eyes, because some of it was true. Vivian was the only family I had left, the only one who'd stood by me through the worst years of my life. But she had always been possessive. And Elena's presence had shifted the house in ways I didn't fully understand yet. When I opened my eyes again, Elena was watching me nervously, as if waiting to see if she'd gone too far. Elena, I said softly, did my sister ever talk to your husband? Did you ever see them together? No, she said immediately. Never. I only saw him last night, through the peephole, from a distance. He didn't speak. He didn't call out. He just stood there. Her voice shivered, and then I heard another set of steps. Softer, but definitely there. Someone else was in that hallway. The air around us felt thin. Could it have been Vivian? I asked. Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. It sounded like someone who knew the house well enough to move quietly. My throat tightened, because that meant it could have been anyone in my inner circle. A friend, an employee, a relative. But one detail clawed at me. Last night, when Vivian confronted me, her voice had been shaking, not with anger, but with something sharper. Fear. Elena, I murmured, leaning forward. Did your husband ever contact you before last night? Here. Her lips tightened. Then slowly, she nodded. He sent me a message. A week ago. A chill wrapped around my spine. What kind of message? She hesitated, and I understood instantly. It wasn't something she wanted me to hear. Elena, I said gently, tell me. She closed her eyes. I know where you sleep. The words punched the breath out of my lungs. And you didn't tell me. I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I was scared, she whispered. I thought if I ignored him, he'd go away. I thought if I stayed quiet, he wouldn't drag you into it. Elena, I'm used to surviving alone, she said, cutting me off, her voice cracking. I didn't want to lose this job. I didn't want you to think I was trouble. I didn't want to be thrown out. Thrown out. The idea made something sharp tear through my chest. Elena, I said firmly, I would never throw you out. She gave a broken, sad little smile. You all say that. Everyone who hires me. Until they don't. Her words were so soft they almost dissolved. But you were different, Michael. You were kind. You were patient. You didn't look at me like I was damaged goods. And I didn't want to give you a reason to stop seeing me like that. A fragile silence spread over the room. Elena, I said finally, voice low, look at me. Her eyes rose, watery and terrified. Whatever is happening, I said, we face it together. Her breath hitched, but before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. Both of us froze. I lifted it slowly. A new message from the same unknown number. But this one wasn't a question, or a taunt, or a warning. It was a video, length 009 seconds, timestamp, last night, 2:13 a.m., recorded from the hallway camera outside the guest rooms. My stomach twisted. Elena, I whispered, we need to watch this. No, Michael, no, please. But I pressed play. The video opened with static. Then the hallway appeared, dim, narrow, gray-blue in the night vision tint. Elena's door, silent, still. At second 3, the silhouette of her husband stepped into frame, just like the photo. Tall, rigid, breathing slow and heavy. At second 4, he raised his hand, hovering over her door handle. Elena's breath beside me caught painfully. At second 6, another figure emerged from the far side of the hallway. A shorter figure, slimmer, moving with sharp, confident steps. My heart slammed. No, not possible. But the image didn't lie. Vivian, my sister, walking right up to Elena's husband, stopping inches from him, and speaking. The camera didn't catch audio, but the way she leaned in, deliberate, confrontational, familiar, made my head spin. At second 8, Elena's husband nodded, like they understood each other, like this was planned, like they were working together. At second 9, the video cut to black. I lowered the phone slowly. The air left my lungs in a harsh, staggered exhale. Elena stared at me, face drained of color, hands shaking violently. "Michael," she whispered, "your sister knows him." My pulse pounded in my ears. Vivian, working with Elena's husband, in my house, outside Elena's door, in the middle of the night. I stood without realizing. Anger, hot and sharp, ignited inside my ribs. "Elena," I said, voice shaking now, "this wasn't your husband stalking you alone." She swallowed hard. This was coordinated, I continued, organized, planned. 2 people, 2 motives. Her voice trembled. Why? Why would she help him? I stared at the dark, reflective glass of the window. The answer rose inside me like poison. Because my sister wasn't trying to protect me last night. She was trying to control me. "Vivian wanted you gone," I whispered, "and she found someone who could make that happen." Elena covered her mouth, tears spilling fast. "Michael, I'm scared." "I know," I whispered, stepping closer. "But listen to me, this ends now." Because Vivian wasn't just jealous. She wasn't just overprotective. She wasn't just angry. She was willing to break Elena to keep me to herself. And that meant the betrayal wasn't romantic. It was familial, deep, twisted, violent, and far from over. The house felt different now. Same walls, same furniture, same soft hum of the heating vents. But everything felt wrong, like the air had shifted, like the house itself was holding its breath. Elena stood near the couch, trembling, not from cold, but from the crushing realization that she wasn't safe here, and maybe hadn't been for longer than either of us understood. Her eyes kept flicking toward the hallway, as if expecting someone, her husband, my sister, or something worse, to step out of the shadows. "Elena," I said gently, "sit down." She didn't. "I don't want to stay here," she whispered. "Not tonight." I moved closer. "I won't let anything happen to you." Her eyes filled again. That's what everyone says before something does. The words hit me like a blade to the ribs. "Elena." No, she wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. "You don't understand what he's capable of. And your sister, if she's working with him. Michael, we're not dealing with jealousy anymore. We're dealing with obsession." She was right. Everything felt sharper now. More dangerous. More personal. "Elena," I said quietly, "he's not coming back tonight." "How do you know?" she whispered, voice trembling. "Because the last 3 times he found me, he always came back. Always. The first night is just a warning. The second is a message. The third is destruction." I felt my jaw tighten. "Elena, you never told me that." "Because nobody listens after the second night," she whispered bitterly. "They think I'm exaggerating, or paranoid, or dramatic." She looked up, eyes raw. "And then he proves me right." A sharp chill ran through me. "Elena," I said, "listen, I'm not them. I'm here. I see you. I believe you. But you cannot leave this house right now. Not after what we saw. Not with him out there." She hesitated, and in that tiny hesitation, I softened my voice. "Stay, just until sunrise. After that, I'll take you somewhere safe." Her breath shook. "Somewhere he can't follow." "Yes." "Michael, there's no such place." I stepped even closer. "We'll create one." Her lips parted, as if the words tugged at something deep inside her, something hopeful and terrified at the same time. But before she could answer, a noise echoed through the house. A sudden, sharp clack. Metal. Contact. From the front door. Elena froze. My blood ran cold. We both turned slowly, like something heavy had gripped our spines. Another sound followed. A soft slide. The unmistakable click of a lock being tested. Someone was outside. Right now. Elena, I whispered, get behind me. No. Elena, now. She moved, barely breathing, silent as a shadow. I stepped forward slowly, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my throat. The doorknob turned. Once, twice, slowly, like someone was testing how much pressure it could take. Then, a soft voice filtered through the wood, a voice that made every muscle in my body seize. Michael. Vivian. My sister. Elena, I whispered without looking back. Don't move. Vivian knocked again, an eerie, gentle tap instead of the usual impatient pound. Michael, open the door. We need to talk. Every instinct screamed not to. Elena, I murmured, go down the hallway, into my study. Lock the door. She shook her head violently. What if it's not her? It's her. But what if she's not alone? I looked at the door again. Vivian's silhouette was faintly visible through the frosted glass panel beside the frame. But silhouettes lie. Cameras lie. Loyalty lies. I stepped closer to Elena. If someone else is with her, I whispered, I won't let them in. And if they force their way in. Her voice was so small. I touched her elbow, barely, gently. They'll have to go through me. A tear fell down her cheek. She moved, not toward the study, toward me, not touching, just standing close enough that I could feel her fear vibrating through her. Michael, she whispered, please, don't open the door. But Vivian knocked again, sharper this time. Michael, I know you're inside. Please, I saw something tonight. Something you need to know. I felt a tremor go through me. What did she see? Elena, I said softly, go now. She didn't want to, but she did. She slipped down the hallway, quick and quiet, disappearing into the deepest shadows of the house. When she was gone, I approached the door. Every step felt like walking toward a trap. I didn't open it. Instead, I spoke through it. Vivian, why are you here? A beat of silence. Then, her voice came back cracked. Weak. Michael, let me in. Please. I froze. Vivian didn't plead. Vivian didn't tremble. Vivian didn't sound breakable. Something was wrong. I put my hand on the handle and paused. Vivian, I said, who were you with tonight? She sucked in a breath. Michael. Her voice trembled. I made a mistake. The floor seemed to shift beneath me. What mistake? I thought I was helping you. I thought I was protecting you. Her words came out in shaken bursts. But I didn't know who he really was. My pulse thundered. Elena's husband, I whispered. She choked on a sob. Yes. My jaw locked. What did you do, Vivian? A long silence. Then I heard her breathing. Unsteady. Panicked. He told me Elena was dangerous, she said. He told me she was manipulating you. That she was lying about her past. That she was using you. That she was... Vivian! My voice was ice. What did you do? Her reply came out shattered. I let him inside. Everything inside me went still. Cold. Hollow. Staring at the door. You what? Her voice broke. He said he wanted proof. Proof she was untrustworthy. Proof she was cheating. Proof she wasn't who she said she was. I didn't know. Michael. I didn't know. A sharp sound cut her off. A gasp. A scuffle. Something hit the other side of the door. A body. Vivian's. I grabbed the handle instantly. Vivian! Her voice came through, strangled, desperate. Michael, don't open the... Silence. So sudden it made my ears ring. Then, a new voice. Deep, smooth, familiar from the video. Good evening, Michael. The world slowed. My spine iced. You've been looking for me, the man continued. And here I am. Elena's husband. At my door. Holding my sister. And then, his final words slid through the wood like poison. Let's finish what we started last night. The moment I heard his voice, calm, unhurried, almost bored. Something ancient and violent woke inside me. Not fear, not rage, a cold, merciless clarity. I pressed my palm flat against the door, feeling the faint tremor on the other side, Vivian's uneven breathing. She was still conscious. Barely. "Elena's not here," I said, my voice low and steady. "Let her go." A soft laugh answered me, a measured exhale, like he was amused I was trying to negotiate. "You think this is about Elena?" he asked. "After everything you saw tonight." I clenched the doorknob but didn't turn it. He continued, conversationally, "This is about you, Michael." My stomach twisted. "What do you want?" "Want?" He chuckled again, slow and hollow. "You still think this is a negotiation?" Vivian gasped sharply, pain, and metal scraped as if she'd fallen against the lower hinge. I bit down a curse. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing permanent," he said. "Not unless you make me." My grip tightened until my hand throbbed. "Let her go," I repeated. "So stubborn." His voice dropped to a murmur, just like Elena was the first time. His words hit like a punch. "The first time." I echoed. "Oh, yes," he said lightly. "You think she only left me once?" No. She's run before. She just never made it far. I always found her. Always brought her home." My breath froze. Brought her home. Not asked her. Not pleaded. Brought. Elena hadn't just been afraid. She had been hunted. "She doesn't belong to you," I said. A pause. Then, "This isn't about belonging, Michael. This is about promises. She made vows, and vows have consequences." His hand rapped the door, one gentle, knuckle-tapping sound. "Open the door," he whispered, "or Vivian learns what consequences feel like." I felt my chest constrict. "Let me talk to her." Another quiet chuckle. "Of course." Something rustled, a shift of weight. Then, "Michael." Vivian's voice, small and strangled. Don't open it." She was cut off by a low groan of pain. That was it. I couldn't stand behind this door anymore. But storming out blindly meant disaster. He wanted the door to open. He wanted the confrontation on his terms. I forced myself to inhale. Think. He expected panic. He expected me to act blindly, driven by rage or desperation. So I did the opposite. "Why me?" I asked calmly. Silence. Unexpected. It forced him to respond. "Finally, you want the truth," he said, voice softening, almost admiring. "Because Elena talks about you." My entire body went rigid. "She talks about how you see people," he continued. "How you read them. How you protect them. How you make them feel safe." A pause. "She thinks you're a good man. That's why you're doing this." I said, "Because she talked about me." "Oh, no." His tone sharpened. "I'm doing this because you believed her." A chilling realization tightened around my ribs. He wasn't just obsessed with Elena. He was obsessed with control, with narrative, with who got to be believed. "You were the first person she opened up to in years," he said, his voice turning low, dangerous. "Do you know what that does to a man like me?" I didn't answer. "You made her think she had a choice," he continued. "You made her think she could leave. You made her think she was safe." His voice lowered. "And for that, you owe me." A slow, creeping dread climbed my spine. "What do you want from me?" I forced out, "For now." He exhaled thoughtfully. "Step outside. Alone. And if I don't?" Another soft sound, air rushing past lips. Then Vivian crying out, sharp and muffled. I closed my eyes for half a second. Just one. Then I made the hardest decision of my life. I unlocked the door, but I didn't open it. Instead, I spoke through it. "You hurt her. You don't get what you want." A pause. Then his voice, cooler now. "Smart." I slowly opened the door just enough to slip through. The night air slapped me, cold, violent, alive with danger. Vivian was kneeling on the ground, hands zip-tied, blood on her bottom lip. Her eyes were wide, rage and apology and terror all mixed together. Behind her stood the man I'd only seen in fragments, on videos, in shadows, in Elena's trembling stories. Tall, composed, coat immaculate, eyes empty. He smiled when he saw me. "Good," he said softly. "Now close it." I didn't. Not completely. Enough to make it look like I did. Enough to make him feel in control. He stepped closer to me, leaving Vivian between us. "You're going to bring her out," he said, almost gently. "She listens to you more than she should." "No," I said evenly. He blinked. Once. Slowly. "What?" "You're not getting her tonight." His jaw flexed, a flick of anger breaking through his calm exterior. "Michael," he said quietly, "don't make this more difficult." "You made it difficult," I said, "when you crossed my threshold, when you put your hands on my sister, when you followed Elena like she was something you owned." I stepped forward. "You don't own her. You don't control her. And you don't get to terrorize her anymore." His face changed. Not to rage. Not to fury. To curiosity. Like he was studying me. Evaluating. Measuring. "You think you understand her," he murmured. "But you don't know what she's capable of. I know she's terrified of you." He laughed once. Short. Sharp. "Of course she is. Fear is the purest form of love." My stomach turned. "That's not love," I said. "It is to me." He moved a step closer. Not rushing. Not threatening. Just claiming space. "And it's enough." That's when the sound reached us. A soft click. From behind me. Inside the house. He heard it too. His eyes sharpened instantly. "Elena," he breathed, almost with reverence. She hadn't stayed hidden. She'd come out. To protect me. To save Vivian. To face the monster who'd chased her through years. He tilted his head, calculating, predator-like. "Bring her out, Michael," he whispered. "And nobody gets hurt." I looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm not bringing you anything." He smiled. "Oh," he said softly, "but you already did." He stepped back and snapped his fingers. And from behind my car, someone else emerged. A figure I didn't expect. A figure that made my blood turn to ice. Because she looked at me with guilt and fear and something darker. "Vivian wasn't the only one I spoke to," he said casually. "Some people are easier to persuade." The woman stepped fully into the porch light, and the world tilted. My voice came out like a broken whisper. "Claire?" My ex. My former fiancée. The woman who left me 2 years ago without a word. Standing beside him, eyes hollow, hands shaking. "Michael," she whispered, "I'm sorry." Elena's husband smiled, satisfied. "I told you," he murmured. "You never really knew any of them." I staggered back a step, not from fear, from betrayal. A betrayal years in the making, threaded through people I loved, people I trusted, people who walked into my life and out again without explanation. And now, I finally understood why. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. This was orchestrated, planned, controlled, manipulated. All of it. Him. Behind everything. And then he stepped closer, voice dropping into a deadly whisper. "You think tonight is the climax of your story." He leaned in. It's not even the beginning. The world tilted. Claire standing beside him. Vivian kneeling on the ground. Elena trembling behind the half-closed door. And the man, the husband, smiling like this was all a play he had written years ago. But something was wrong. Something in the way he watched the door behind me. Something in the way his eyes never left the shadows where Elena hid. He wasn't looking at me. He was waiting. For her. "Elena," he called softly. "Come out." I stood between them. "No," I said. "You're done here." He didn't even glance at me. "You think you're protecting her," he murmured. "But she's the reason we're all here." "Elena didn't do anything," I snapped. A soft laugh escaped him. "You really don't know her." I turned just slightly toward the doorway. "Elena, don't come out." But she did, slowly, silently, and when she stepped into the porch light, both Vivian and Claire flinched, like something unseen pulsed through the air. Elena lifted her chin just a fraction. It was small, barely noticeable. But the husband noticed it instantly, and whatever power he thought he had, it broke. His smile faded. Elena. His voice trembled. Don't do this. Her eyes never left him. Do what? She whispered. Tell him. Something icy slid down my spine. Tell me what? I asked. Elena swallowed. Her fingers twisted together. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked like someone stripped bare. Michael. Her voice cracked. There's something you don't know about me. The husband let out a shaking breath. But it wasn't victory. It was fear. Elena, he said sharply. Stop. Right now. She didn't. She stepped closer to me, close enough for her voice to drop into a trembling whisper. My name isn't Elena. The words hit me like a cold wave. That's not possible, I said quietly. It's who you've been for years. It's who I was told to be, she whispered. Who I had to be. I stared at her, stunned. The husband took a step forward. Elena. She cut him off without looking at him. My real name is Mara. The night air thickened. Even the wind seemed to pause. Mara, the husband said through clenched teeth, don't do this. But she kept going. I wasn't running from him because he was abusing me. Her voice shook. I was running from what we both did. I turned cold. What you both did. She lifted her hand slightly, palms trembling. Mara and I, the husband said quietly, we weren't a normal couple. No, she whispered. We were informants. The ground felt like it shifted under me. For who? I whispered. She stared at the concrete like it could swallow her. For an organization, she murmured. A private one. Not government. Not legal. We specialize in extracting information, getting close to people who had what our employers wanted. I stepped back once. Just once. You were spies? My voice was barely audible. More like ghosts, she said. People you let into your home who were never really there. I couldn't breathe. Michael, she whispered, I wasn't supposed to fall for you. Claire's head snapped toward her. Vivian's jaw dropped. The husband cursed under his breath. I whispered, What do you mean, fall for me? She looked at me then, really looked at me, and the pain in her eyes was worse than any knife. You were the assignment. The word shattered something inside me. Claire whispered a soft, horrified, oh God. Elena, no, Mara, continued. I was meant to observe you, your routines, your contacts, your sister, your finances, your vulnerabilities. My job was to get close, gain trust. Her voice cracked, and then disappear. I staggered back another step. Mara, I said, my voice ragged. Stop. I can't. Her tears finally broke, because you deserve to know the truth before he twists it. The husband stepped forward sharply. You're going to get us all killed. No, she said. You already did that. Her eyes locked onto mine again. I quit the organization 3 years ago, she whispered. The moment I realized I couldn't go through with it. The moment I realized I cared about you. I felt like I'd been punched. Cared? I echoed. You lied to me from the first day we met. Yes. Her lips trembled. And every day after. And I hated myself for it. Then why come back? I demanded. Why take the job at my house again? Why keep lying? Because I didn't come back to spy on you, she said through tears. I came back to warn you. The husband's eyes darkened. Mara, stop. She didn't. They want something from you, Michael, she said. Something only you have. Something you don't even realize you possess. What? I asked. She hesitated. The husband stepped forward. But so did I. What do they want? Mara whispered. A file. My pulse hammered. A file. A financial archive your father built in the 90s, she said. Hidden offshore. Some kind of encrypted asset record. Every major client he protected. Every illicit deal he uncovered. She swallowed hard. The organization believed that file could expose them. I shook my head. My father was an accountant, a quiet one. He didn't. He wasn't quiet, Mara whispered. He was brilliant and dangerous. He did things even the organization couldn't find. I tried to breathe, tried to ground myself. Failed. The night my father died, she continued, it wasn't a car accident. Vivian gasped. I froze. They made it look like one, Mara whispered, because he wouldn't give them what they wanted. I felt my knees weaken. You knew. I whispered. I found out after I left, she said. And when I learned they were coming after you next, I did the only thing I could. She stepped closer. I used the maid job to get back inside your life. Close enough to protect you. I shook my head violently. Protect me? You seduce me. Her voice was barely a breath. Yes, because if they thought I cared, they'd trust me again. They'd assume I was doing my job. A tear fell, and because I was weak, because some part of me still wanted you. The husband snarled, Mara, you're going to get him killed. She turned on him, eyes blazing. You already tried that. He flinched. Mara's voice cracked as she continued. He told the organization I betrayed them, that I ran with classified intel, that I was dangerous. So they hunted me, and when they realized I was staying close to you, the truth landed like a bullet. They decided to use you as leverage. Claire stiffened. Vivian's eyes widened with horror, and the husband, the man who seemed so in control, finally broke. Mara, he said, sounding less like a monster and more like someone drowning, please stop talking. Why? She asked softly. So he dies without ever knowing why. He grabbed her arm, but she jerked away so violently he stumbled back. Everything froze. The air, the tension, the lies, the ruined pieces of truth scattered at our feet. Mara, I whispered, everything between us, it was fake. No, she said fiercely, grabbing my hands with trembling fingers. It started fake, but it didn't stay that way. Then why not tell me? I asked, because I didn't know who to trust. Her voice cracked, and I didn't know how much time we had left. The husband stepped forward again. That's enough, he said, his voice sharp. You've said too much. Mara turned to him slowly, and for the first time, he looked afraid of her. You think you're the villain, she whispered. You think you're the one pulling strings. He swallowed. But you were a pawn too, she said. The real mastermind isn't here. My blood ran cold. What do you mean, isn't here? She looked into my eyes. The person leading the operation, the one who ordered your father's death, who sent him, she nodded at the husband, who sent me, who manipulated Claire, who blackmailed Vivian. My breath caught in my throat. Was someone we all trusted. I whispered, Who? Her voice broke. Your mother. The world stopped. Everything went silent. My vision tunneled. My mother. I choked. She died 15 years ago. Mara shook her head. No, she whispered. She disappeared. They told you she died, but she didn't. She became them. I staggered back, dizzy. She's the one who trained us, Mara continued, tears streaming. She's the one who ordered your father's execution. She's the one who assigned me to you. I shook my head, shaking, furious. No, that's not possible. Mara grabbed my face in her hands, desperate, frantic. Michael, I never lied about the way I felt for you, but I lied about everything else, because the truth would break you, and I couldn't be the one to do that. I pulled away. She reached for me again, sobbing, and then a phone rang, loud, sharp, echoing across the porch. The husband froze. Mara froze. Claire whispered something incoherent. Vivian stared like she was seeing a ghost. And when Mara slowly took the phone from her pocket, her hands were shaking violently. She answered, Hello? A voice came through the speaker. Soft, cold, female. A voice I recognized from childhood memories of bedtime stories and morning breakfasts. A voice that shouldn't exist. "Hello, Michael," the voice said. "It's been a long time." My knees buckled. "Mom." Mara broke down, sobbing silently. The voice continued. "I'm sorry you had to learn the truth this way. But now that you know, I need you to come home." I stared into the darkness of the front yard, and I felt it. A presence. Someone watching. Someone waiting. "Because everything that's happened," my mother said softly, "is only the beginning." And the call ended.